What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. All right, so this is something that I saw trending today, and I think this is rather interesting. Now, it's still just a rumor, but it's being discussed so much on different quarters as far as the blogosphere and what have you. So apparently, Marvel Studios, and I've been seeing this for a while now, Marvel Studios is very, very interested in having Denzel Washington play Magneto. So, of course, Denzel Washington is one of the great actors of his generation, period. Not great black actor, great actors. And look, at some point in time, they're going to reboot X-Men. Now, of course, the first X-Men movie came out in 2000, and there have been many, many different films. Most of them were good, some of them great, a few of them sucked. Although I could sit down and enjoy all of them, for the most part. Although that one with the Phoenix, the last one, that kind of sucked to me. But anyway. Eventually, they're going to have to recast everybody. Everybody's getting a little older. Look, Ian McKellen, Patrick Stewart, they aged out, right? Now you have, I forget their names, but the newer actors that played Professor X and Magneto, they're not old, but they're not exactly kids anymore either. I'm 44. I think they're a little older than me, like 46, 48, 40. So they're older. They're not old. They still can play the role for probably 10 more years. Maybe longer than that, actually. But I mean, you know what I'm saying? They're not exactly in their 20s and 30s anymore. But let's go back to the Denzel Washington thing, right? Obviously, what people are having a problem with is, wait a minute, Magneto was a Jewish person, a Jewish child at that time, who was in Adolf Schicklgruber's concentration camps during the Nazi Germany period, right, in the 1940s. And the horrors of that scarred him emotionally to the point where even though fundamentally in his heart, Magneto has goodness. He's a decent person. What he went through forever changed his perception of humanity. Okay. Now, people are having a hard time seeing Magneto being played by Denzel because they say, well, Denzel is black. Magneto is Jewish. So how could he play this character? Well, look, what's the character's name? Max Fury? Max Fury in the comics is white. And I think Samuel Jackson, probably screwing up his first name, but Fury, I think he does a great job playing Fury in the Marvel movies. I don't think anybody really cares. But I think it's because, I think his name's Max Fury. Max Fury is not as well known. And his ethnicity is not as central to his character, to his makeup. Now I get people saying, oh, well, what if you had Ryan Gosling play Black Panther? How would you like that? But the difference is this, though. Being black is central to being an African character for the most part, right? But let's not go there, because if you want to be technical about it, we could have a real serious problem about Tarzan King of the Jungle bullshit, okay? You know what I'm saying? You didn't see black people throwing a hissy fit about a white man being called the king of the African jungle. Okay? Because we really should retcon that and make Tarzan black. But some people have a problem with that. Even though, by their logic, Tarzan should be black. Now, when you talk about anger and rage and, well, aren't the same people who bitching about this have the image of black men as being angry? We're always angry and violent and, prone to homicidal tendencies. Well, Jesus, that sounds like Magneto. So what's your problem? Because you want to identify with Magneto. As a matter of fact, for some of you guys, Magneto is an anti-hero, and you don't want you or your kids or anybody that you know to even look up to a black Magneto. We're always relegated with some people to being a villain, hated, reviled, and this outright despised. As long as well, if you're a token background character, who gives a shit? Another thing too you gotta look at is, look, we're in the year 2025. World War II ended 80 years ago. So even if you took into account Magneto being a kid, see, when the first movie came out, that was 2000, right? If you say Magneto was 9 or 10 years old at the time, well, it was still somewhat believable because World War II had ended at that time 55 years earlier. So that would make Magneto 64, 65, older, but still able to ambulate around. You take care of yourself. You still can be, formidable. But now he would be 90 at the youngest. It's not very believable. I know some people say, well, mutants age slower. Not all mutants. And there's no evidence to support that Magneto ages slowly. Magneto, matter of fact, in Days of Future Past, Magneto was an octogenarian, as was Charles. So they'll be even older if we had the same timeline. So in this reboot, they're kind of changing things. I can see them making Magneto, instead of a victim of Adolf Schicklgruber's Germany, making Magneto a victim of Jim Crow. Or, if you really want to push it, make Magneto, Denzel's Magneto, because there were blacks in Nazi Germany, making him a victim of that Germany. In addition to the racism he would have to deal with subsequently, post Nazi Germany. So either way, it fits to me, especially when you consider the fact, too, that I've always heard that Charles Xavier was based on Dr. King and Magneto based on Malcolm X. At least that's what the common, at least that's what the common belief is. So at the end of the day, is it really that big of a stretch to have Magneto basically be Malcolm X? I don't think so. Now, also keep in mind, Magneto is always going to be pro-mutant, whether it's black, white, Asian. That doesn't matter. It's his experiences with humanity that push him over the edge. See, Magneto is not going to see race. All he's going to see is the human race. You guys are seeing race. And as I said before, in conclusion, growing up, I didn't care whether it was Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone, or whoever. Carl Weathers, I rooted for the hero. It's only seems like it's certain people, they only want it to be one particular color, and that's disgusting. It's shameful. You know what I'm saying? It's just funny because early on, when I used to watch, sometimes forced to watch Westerns on TBS, Westerns never been my thing, but I was told that the hero was the cowboy and the villains were the Indians. And, we always rooted for the Cowboys. But the funny thing about it is, as time goes on, you begin to realize that society sees us as the Indians. And that's sad. But anyway, that's all I got to say about it. Tell me what you guys think.